Welcome, everybody. It looks like people are filtering in. We're super excited to have you. As you're joining, do me a quick favor, drop in where you're joining from, and let us know if there's a brand you plan on shopping with during the holiday season. Would love to hear what everybody's buying, spending their money on. Lots of folks from Indy. Yes. Utah. Nice. Very good. We'll get started here in just a minute as we let people filter in. Barcelona? Ooh, that sounds fun. Anybody been to Barcelona? You guys been to Barcelona? Spain? Europe? You have,
I
Katie?
have, yes.
Really?
Actually, I went to high school in Switzerland, so was
What?
lucky I got to
Nice.
travel a lot while I was there.
It's great.
Yeah. Gosh. Was it cold? Is it cold in Switzerland? Generally, isn't
It's very similar to here.
it? Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chicago is basically Canada, so it's just
Okay.
it's
It's
freezing.
actually better in Switzerland probably than Chicago in the winter. Less wind.
Yeah, I love it. 10th Street hats. Ooh, okay. Very cool. Yeah, Austin. We were just talking about Austin. Oh no, is the suit shop showroom in Austin? Or did you just say
We
Texas?
just opened in Houston.
In Houston. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Awesome. Well, we can get started. Welcome everybody, to a very special session we have planned today. So we're recording this as, we're calling it a live podcast. We got some video, obviously. So those listening via audio won't get to see, all of our beautiful faces, but, we're excited to bring together three wonderful operators in the e-commerce space. Before we get started, there's a couple things I got to make sure I mention, or else Mariah might murder me. So first off, we just launched at Malomo our new two-click tracking page creator. So just in time for BFCM, we're super pumped about this new feature. Uh, um, to celebrate the release, we just launched sort of a pretty huge design contest. And Mariah hopefully will drop some of the details into chat, but there's more than $1,000 in cash up for grabs, plus a bunch of prizes from some of our other partners for the best design tracking page using that feature. And then new merchants to Malomo will get free access to Malomo now through the contest deadline, which is the first week of October. So we're super pumped. Lots of fun stuff you can win. Be sure to try to enter that. And then announcement number two, we're in a very giving mood today. We're also giving away a shopping spree during this webinar. So there's a $100 gift card up for grabs for the most engaged attendee across both sessions. So whoever is the most active in chat throughout both sessions will win. Make sure you stay to the end and engage in the chat Q&A. So I am bummed. I tried to convince Mariah I should get that gift card for preemptively doing such a good job hosting, but got vetoed. So cool. Let's get started. So in this first session, we're going to be talking all about prepping for BFCM. And then second session, we'll talk about how we're going to retain those customers after the holidays. So I'm joined by three amazing guests. We've got Katie Eric from SuitShop, Max Conley from Raaka Chocolate, and Colin Waters from Brumate. I'll have each of them introduce themselves. Katie, why don't we have you start? Just tell us a little bit about your role at SuitShop and a little bit about your journey to get here.
Yeah. I'm Katie. I'm Director of Customer Experience at SuitShop. For anyone not familiar with us, we are an inclusive suiting company. They start at $199 to own. So we have suits for men, women, non-binary folks, and kids. We are primarily online based. So we have a lot of tech tools for sizing, so you don't need to get measured or visit a store, but we are lucky to have 5 stores and we'll be opening a 6th in October, which we're really excited about. My background was in retail management and sales before joining SuitShop. And I actually used our company for my wedding the year before I started as a founding team member. So it's been cool to be with the company pretty much from the beginning as a customer and then an employee.
Yeah, it's awesome. Get to see both sides, the inside and the outside. Yeah. Amazing. Max, why don't we go to you?
Awesome. Hey, I'm the director of e-commerce at Raaka Chocolate. We are a small batch bean to bar chocolate company based in Brooklyn, New York, that really focuses on crafting unique flavors of chocolate using unroasted cacao, and everything's vegan, organic, and kosher. So I've been in e-commerce for about the last 7 years, with 6 of that specifically in food, and then the last 2.5 years in chocolate. So was selling chocolate on the internet and all the challenges that come with it, both in fulfillment and yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, you lived chocolate for a lot of your professional life. Yeah. It's not a bad place to be. And then your background, we gotta mention this is the actual Rocket Chocolate factory.
Yeah, so that's the original factory that we started making chocolate at back in 2010.
That's
Everything
awesome.
today still made in Brooklyn.
Wow, it's awesome. Very good. Well, thanks for joining, Max. And then Colin.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Colin Waters. I'm the Associate Director of Customer Experience at Brumate. And if you don't know who Brumate is, we are innovative coolers and water bottles. We're expanding slowly into different areas there. So, I'm sure there'll be more to come. I've been doing DTC retail for about 5 years now, and I don't consider myself a traditional retail e-commerce customer experience employee. Like, my background was in athletics, and then also I worked for the state of Colorado in the prison system, the lottery, and the DMV. So your favorite 3 state-run offices. I kind of gravitated towards doing CX because I think I was just really good at managing people, and obviously situations that would pop up that were a little bit challenging. So I'm happy to be in the role that I am. I have a great team and really enjoy what I do, and happy to share some nuggets with you all today.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how did you make the leap from those 3 areas into ecom?
I don't know. I guess I'm multi-talented. The first day I worked at the DMV, they said, "You're too happy to work here." And I realized that probably was not the place for me. So I need to find some place where I could stretch my wings a little bit more and be myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Great. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you all for joining. We've got a jam-packed session. I'm excited to dig in. We're gonna split the session actually into kind of 2 parts. So one, we'll talk about sort of BFCM marketing tactics with you all. Hear what strategies your teams are sort of putting into place to make BFCM a success. And then for the second part, we'll talk more about like CX strategies and what you're putting in place now to create a wonderful experience for your customers. But first, I thought it'd be interesting to really quick, walk through BFCM behavior from a consumer perspective. So, Katie, I'm actually going to kick things off with you. What draws your attention to a brand during the holidays? Like, are you making lists of things to buy right now? What draws in your attention?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what time of year it is, I shop almost 100% online. So clothes, groceries, all of it. So I'm always on there looking for things. I think right now I start thinking about Christmas presents and making my list of who I need to shop for, trying to find the best deals for my 4-year-old because I'm not trying to spend a ton of money on toys and things like that. But I think what really draws me to like new brands and trying out new things is always social media and UGC ads. Those really always grab my attention.
Yes. Yeah. Max, what about you?
Yeah, making a list of products I want, brands I want to check out. For me, it's Black Friday is looking for some of those more premium brands that don't normally offer discounts during the year. and taking that as an opportunity to either buy something I've been wanting for a while, or get gifts for friends and family. I'm very much someone that will think and sit on it for a long time before I want it. And I think Black Friday, Cyber Monday is kind of that day of action where if I'm going to buy it, now's the time.
Yeah, yep, I love it. So like it almost sounds like too that like some of this is like discovering new brands and like that's a good time to sort of like test them out before you make a larger commitment to them. I've got a like a bookmark tool that I've used and then I just whenever I'm finding stuff I'm tagging everything. Like when I think of like, oh my sister would love that I tag it or like, oh my wife would love that I tag it. Colin, what about you?
I think I'm in the same cut of, from Max. Like I am a very slow decision maker, and I will typically uh start my, I guess, interest in a product or for somebody else like months in advance of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So it's, oh, that's kind of interesting. Then I see, another Instagram ad or something else on my feed, right? And I'm like, oh, that actually I could really use that, right? Starts to make that connection with me. But I'm very particular about a lot of things and for a lot of the people I buy for. So I don't want to go too big, right? And buy hundreds of dollars worth of items. So like I tend to sometimes gravitate towards either a good deal or potentially like a low like shipping threshold or something that is easy to kind of dip my toe into, see if I really do like it, and then I can kind of explore from there.
Yeah, yep. I think that's like it's pretty interesting to like think about the consumer behavior there and like the psychology there. Like more people when I first got in e-commerce, this is I'm gonna date myself probably 7, 8 years ago. Um, and people started talking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday in the summer. I was like, what are you guys talking about? Like we're so far away from that. Like it's not even Halloween yet. We haven't even talked about Thanksgiving yet. And I used to think like that was so far away, but then you think about how people shop for that holiday, like they're just thinking about those things year round. And I think it's important to like think through how are you actually messaging to that moment that might occur months from now? Because you only have, everybody's got limited wallet that they're making purchases from, limited budget. And so you're not only competing with maybe other brands in your market, but anything that consumer might want or buy for themselves or their friends. Um, Colin, I know Brumate has some pretty killer sales during BFCM. Like how has Brumate approached its BFCM strategy this year?
So typically, we are looking at acquiring new customers. Once we have a customer, like we're about a 50-50 split on our purchases, right? Versus a new versus an old customer. So from a marketing standpoint, like we're trying to really actively engage people who are, I mean, like we just talked about, right? That are maybe familiar with the brand a little bit, or like we're trying to pull them in a little bit more. So October is our typically our strongest like retention month overall. So we've got to draw them in, and we want to, yes, we've got probably a product just for you, like it's made for you. It's like it's made for this, right? But we need to really find a way to kind of get you in the door and then continue to keep you in the door. So we we typically see a lot of people who are purchasing, and I mean, this is probably going to be pretty standard, is like they're looking for the best deal, even if it's a deals and steals or something that is heavily marked off. Maybe it doesn't even really work for them, but we're trying to just expose people to our brand. Specifically this year, we have like 3 products that are going to, I think they're innovative. There's nothing else like them, right? They're going to drive a lot of people to the site. We might not capture them on those products, but like we need to position our other products, like I know our can coolers, our normal water bottles, our whatever else we have to position all of that around it so they have somewhere to go, and they don't, we basically help them make the decision, right? Here's a map, here's a gift guide. This is maybe a little bit too expensive for you. Well, we've got another option, right? So we're definitely going to lean into those 3 products to help drive traffic. And I think the products are great, but like I would not be surprised if maybe they don't enter there, but they start somewhere else.
Okay, so like what do you feel like is unique about those 3 products then? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, so 2 of the products are like leak-proof water bottles that nobody else has, right? One is a touch-free straw where you don't have to touch the straw at all. So think about like doctors, offices, nurses, right? Places where you're not really physically wanting to kind of put your dirty fingers like on that. The second one is the first leak-proof straw tumbler, right? It is completely 100% leak-proof. Like think about moms on the go throwing something in their bag. It stays cold all day and it doesn't leak on any of their papers or get any of their bags wet and stuff like that. So like we have that product specifically is the Era. We launched. We've had I guess 2 phases to that already, and we have sold out immediately. So there's already a lot of hype around that. And we just got to tap into that and keep kind of going from there.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So obviously, like gifting is a pretty integral part of BFCM. I saw Tapcart recently released a study that said roughly 70% of consumer purchases are gifts for others, while 30% are for themselves. So obviously, like consumers are buying for others and for themselves. Like, Colin, do you try to understand the split between those customers at all? Or is Brumate trying to identify those people who are shopping for themselves versus buying gifts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult to tell, right? Especially in our hemispheres that we have a lot of loyal customers. So if they are loyal customers and they're repeat purchases of items that have been out for a while, like we assume that is probably from a gifting standpoint, or they're just building their collection. I think the best way though to judge that, right, is to meet those customers where they're at, like through a live chat channel or SMS, right? Is to, hey, before I can help you, basically you're being the personalized shopper for them, right? What are you shopping for? Is this for you or somebody else? If it's for somebody else, we've got a gift guide created. Like we're trying to make those decisions like very easy, and we segment those. It's like, all right, this is a person who really loves the outdoors. This is a person who's more about their workout plan and their hydration, right? Here's somebody who's kind of the weekend barbecuer. So like we break it into segments that kind of resonate with people. If we can meet them where we're at too, right? If we're having a live conversation while they're on our site, potentially like a sales, or we even have like holiday gifting, like we can really engage with them and then drive them towards a product that is a little bit more tailored to, let's say, universal use, or they know who they're buying for, right? We don't want to we want to make that gift land like perfectly for them.
Yeah, yep, that makes a lot of sense. Max, are you all introducing any like particular products that you're targeting at kind of new customers, or like hey, this is a hero product that's great for prospecting into new customers versus the rest of the catalogs and maybe different? Or curious to hear how you guys approach that.
Yeah. So we launched quite a few products in Q4 and during the holidays. A lot of seasonal flavors. We're probably going to have about almost 12 new products coming out over October through December. And that ranges from your fall seasonal items to your winter seasonal items, plus limited batch white chocolate bars, which we can actually only do during the winter because they melt a lot easier than dark chocolate. So we're only able to really ship those Q4 and Q1 while the temperatures are low. So we release all those products that we found does a really good job of bringing in new customers to our website. And the trick for us is then converting those customers who came, bought a pumpkin flavored bar or a candy cane bar in that first order. How do we then get them to switch over to one of our year-round items and stay a subscriber or a repeat customer through the summer, when we're turning off, a good chunk of our acquisition to really focus on maintaining that core customer base. So we leverage quite a few tactics to try and recapture those customers once they've come, convert them from something similar to a white chocolate or something similar to the candy cane bar into one of our core assortment products.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I'm actually gonna come back to that particular area later with you. So real quick, inflation kind of had a massive impact on BFCM last year. So if around this time last year, inflation was at an astonishing 8%. When we were looking and analyzing some of the data inside of Malomo and our merchant base, we saw that, consumer spending seemed like it was at a standstill up until November, when the dam just broke and everyone was finally shopping again, really because they knew they could get a really good deal Almost feels like you can't say BFCM without saying discount. Is BFCM strategy just really an exercise in who can give the biggest discount? Like, what's a good strategy if you're not maybe discounting? Katie, I'd love to maybe go to you here, and hear a little bit about, SuitShop doesn't really do a big BFCM sort of like dedicated sale, I believe. Maybe could you talk a little bit about, yeah, SuitShop strategy and how you've approached BFCM?
Yeah. I think like for us, we've kind of set it as a standard that we don't do discounts. So no matter what time of year it is, we want everyone to get the same price no matter what day they're shopping with us. What we do try to leverage this time of year, though, is our sale products. And we have that up all the time, though. If you go on our website right now, check the banner at the top. It says we have products for sale 35% off. And that's really important for us to promote because the sale products are inventory we're trying to offload. So it's all of these items that are at our warehouse, just costing us money to keep there, and really, hurting our profit margins. So rather than offering sales on products that majority of our customers have to buy because they're in a wedding and their friend has told them this is the suit you have to get. So we're not really gaining anything from giving them a discount because they may not come back until, 3 years later when they're getting married themselves anyway. But so we focus more on pushing the products that we need to get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really smart. Yeah, that's really, really smart. And then is there targeted messaging? Like, how does the messaging change from like the year-round messaging, this is the sale, to when BFCM starts? Does that change at all, or is it kind of remain the same?
Yeah, we'll send out emails that have gift guides and we'll do a gift guide on our website and try to incorporate, suiting for different occasions into our messaging. So maybe you need a quick tuxedo for like a gala on New Year's Eve, or maybe your, significant other needs a blazer for work or new socks or whatever it might be. So we do try to do that a little bit more through like a gift guide tactic.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Max or Colin, I'd be curious to hear from you guys. Like, are there any things that you all do beyond, or in an alternative to discounting to preserve margins during this time of year? Like, I've heard some brands will do a lot of like bundling. So, hey, buy three, get it at this price, where you can keep AOV high and margins still in a good place, but still sort of, make it seem like there is a good deal to be had. Anything that you guys are doing, like that on that front?
Yeah. We create, I think, unique holiday bundles over using what we have, kind of flavors we have already and packaging we have already, and essentially rebrand that as holiday bundles at a discounted price. And then also, we're mindful of how big of a percentage discount we can do during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But one, thing we do as an added bonus will be a gift with purchase. So if you spend $50 or $100 adding on an extra item, last year I know during the Black Friday Cyber Monday week, we used one of our pumpkin items that we had kind of left over from October, and everyone who spent $100 got that for free on their order. So a good way to move through some of that seasonal inventory you need to get rid of by December, while also providing additional value to the customer.
Yeah, similar again to Max, right? Like we have kind of a threshold, right? Spend X, receive Y. We've actually also added to a kind of a post-purchase, I guess post-purchase, right? Shopify, you check out, and then it's like, oh, by the way, would you like this mystery item for $15, right? You don't know what you're going to get. It's going to be, and we can move inventory that's kind of stagnant, right? That is just sitting at our warehouse. It also helps too. It's like, hey, I get free shipping if I get over $90, right? So I should probably go for this. The additional thing is that if someone buys it and they don't like it, it makes for a great gift, right? And Brumate, I think, makes a great gift. I mean, similar in chocolate. I'm not sure a suit would make a great gift. It might not fit right. It might have to tailor it. How about a gift card? We also have been very strategic about certain items that we bring back that have like a pent up demand, right? Or releasing like new color drops for items that either have been very popular on maybe other ones in the past, right? So like we 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 definitely tease that stuff leading up to, the Black Friday period, which really is going to start like in October for us, right? It's just, hey, it's sold out, but it might be coming back, right? And build this like kind of demand for uh attracting people, and then these getting them back into some of these other little teasers that we have. We have a lot. Our digital project manager probably manages like, I'm not kidding, like 100 different like scenarios that if you buy this, like we're going to upsell and cross sell you some straws, or a different one that goes, complete your collection. So we're very, very active in that manner for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. I have a ton of Brumate drinkware. It is great gifts to give and great gifts to receive.
Yeah.
So I love that. Max, so you guys have a pretty important part of your business, which is the subscription side. And I'd be curious to hear how how you weave any of that subscription business into your holiday campaigns, or like what's the strategy around like the one-shot customers versus subscribers that you have during BFCM.
Yeah, so we have a bar of the month, essentially subscription program where we create 2 new flavors every month. December will be our 10-year anniversary of that. And what we found is like that is one of our best ways to both retain repeat customers, but then also engage new customers. And what we see a lot of during the holidays is that customers who already have a subscription with our First Nibs Bar of the Month program, then giving gift subscriptions to their friends and family. So they may have their own personal subscription plus 3 or 4 other subscriptions at any given time going off to as Christmas gifts. So we really start to lean in November with kind of the last couple of years we've done like a partnership with last year we partnered with Momofuku to create some bars with them to really incentivize people to one, sign up for subscriptions, but also incentivize it as a great gift for foodies. So pushing them to gift out those 3, 6, or 12-month subscriptions to their friends. And then, people who aren't subscribers, if they're just buying the single flavor bars, we kind of will follow up with them with either offering them subscribe and save options of those year-round standard flavors, or even incentivize them to, try a 3-month subscription for themselves at a slight discount to get them in. And what we found is kind of once you're getting chocolate in your mailbox every month, it's very hard to stop.
That's the truth. That is the truth. Are you, I'd also love to hear, are you doing anything post-purchase to promote subscriptions at all?
Yeah, so that plays into our post-purchase flows we have with customers, where depending on what they purchased, if they didn't get a subscription from us, then on that tracking page that they go to, they will see options similar to what they purchased or what they purchased, promoting that subscription, or even a incentive to sign up for a subscription on their next order. For us, we kind of look at it as like with post-purchase, the first thing we want to do is make sure we're getting them into our marketing, and then second, how do we get them, to easily become a recurring subscriber?
Yeah. Yep. That's great. Yeah. That's fantastic. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit really quickly and kind of cover some more like CX related topics. And so I'd love to hear how people are preparing their CX teams and how you can turn those first time customers into repeat customers with a great experience. So Max, you already touched on this a little bit, but is there anything else that you guys are doing from a customer experience perspective to really nurture those first time customers, the ones that you might acquire during BFCM to turn them into those repeat customers?
Yeah. So I think the first thing we do when someone places an order from us for the first time is within 24 hours, they get an email from a member of our customer support or fulfillment team, essentially introducing themselves, introducing the brand, and then also letting them know that they will be their first point of contact if there's any issues with their order. That way, customers aren't, if they have a delivery issue, aren't looking for how to contact us. They know right away who to email. Chocolate can be somewhat difficult to ship. During the winter, it's easier, but we still have times where our chocolate will spend a very hot day on a UPS truck and arrive melted. And that's not the experience we want customers to have. We can't control that, but we can control kind of how we're able to respond to that and get that fixed for the customer. So we train them all on that. And then we also, one thing we started doing this year was giving our CS team essentially like the holiday playbook of here's every email we're sending on every day, the promotions that are starting, the products that are launching. That way they can kind of best configure staffing for that. They know when things will be busy, but then also help provide the best service to customers.
Yeah, I love that a lot. I'm curious, SuitShop and Brumate, are either of you doing something similar? Like, do your CX teams, are you guys well aware of what the marketing calendar and campaigns look like?
Yeah, from our end, we have been talking BFCM holiday since probably June, trying to align that, right, and just it's always kind of that season, right? So we're always preparing for that. So we've been in contact, and things are obviously going to change, but like our key things, like color drops, before Cyber Monday sales, like we've gotten into a good pattern, I think, here at Brumate. Like we kind of know that playbook. However, there are a lot of people who are always new to our team in CX, and they don't understand that. So there's a lot of dissemination of just information that we are kind of, all right, we're receiving a lot from marketing. We're not going to give you all of that. Like, let's give you the main points and handle it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Katie, how about you? Oh, you might be muted.
Sorry. We make sure everyone on our team is subscribed to our marketing emails. So as soon as something, goes out to the customer, our team is receiving that as well. That's definitely helpful in knowing what kind of questions might come in and what to respond to. And anytime something is changing, whether like we're offering something new or we're using a different provider, whatever it might be, we make sure that our macros are up to date and let everyone know what the new macros are to use. And that's super helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot.
There's one thing that we might try this year that is a little bit different. Like we've been typically, hey, everything's in Slack. Here's one spot on the Google Drive. Like we're thinking about just creating like almost like Google Sites, then kind of just, I know that sounds really simple, but like it's kind of whatever works during BFCM, and it's free. You don't have to think a whole lot about it, but it's a one-stop shop for our team as well, right? Because we will definitely have our moments where someone is not informed, right? And I think you all do. So you can say, go look at that spot, and if you can't find it there, then look harder, and then ask. Yeah.
We actually have that in Notion. We use Notion for that.
Notion.
Cool. And it's great. It is the tell-all of anything you need to know should be in there.
Yes. Yep. So on this topic, there's obviously there's a big shift happening from more like reactive customer support where you're waiting for issues to pop up and kind of playing whack-a-mole with your teams to address them, to more of like a proactive approach to trying to knock these issues out before they even reach your CX team. Katie, I'd love to hear if you are employing any strategies today to sort of like get ahead of issues before, one of your team members needs to step in.
Yeah, I think we do a good job of this in our Malomo tracking page. We've tried to make it as informative and self-service as possible. So it's easy to set up your return or exchange from there because we're integrated with Loop. But we also have linked blog articles for like next steps. So someone arrives and they weren't sure that the pants were going to be unhemmed. Now they have instructions on what to do with their product next. We also link to our help center rather than a contact us. So we try to direct them that way first. And then we have flows set up through our gorgeous chat. So ideally that will answer their questions also before they actually reach out to someone.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think you do a great job with your experience trying to just, hey, here's what to expect when your product's on the way. Here's what to expect when it arrives. If something's wrong, here's what to do next. Like guiding the customer step by step along that whole journey. I think you guys do a really good job of that. And then, so obviously, like the goal is to try to deflect as many tickets as you can and answer customer questions before they become complaints. But that doesn't always happen. And sometimes customers just reach out. I'd love to hear how you guys think about staffing your teams over this period. Like what does what's the strategies that you use to make sure that you have the right people in place as the holidays approach? Colin, maybe I'll start with you around this topic.
Yeah, this is like front of mind right now, right? I mean, we currently have we're about to go through a BFCM dry run. We have 30,000 pre-orders on this one item I was telling you about, and they are all about to ship in like a 6-day period. So it is like a Black Friday in September for us, right? We're going to receive a lot of related issues to products and shipping and things like that. And what we basically have done or will do for the next couple of weeks is kind of divide and conquer, right? We're going to play to our strengths. We're hiring kind of already for holiday that we are not going to train you on the entire handbook. We're going to train you on 2 things. We're going to use our gorgeous, system to flow tickets into this 1, 2, maybe 3 views. And that's all you have to do. Right. And then if you're done with that, great, we can help you transition into another spot. Right. But for now, we used to play kind of man to man. We're going to play zone defense. And go after we've already got macros created. We're ready to go. We may not use all 10 macros. We might only use 2 1,000 times and everything else only adds up to 10. Like you have to just over prepare. And that's what we'll do this year, try to build out a staff that we might overstaff, right? We've always tried to overstaff for the holidays, kind of expecting the worst. And 2020, we had probably the worst shipping thing I've ever, experience I've ever had. We were in the process of getting Malomo started right before then. And if we had it, we would have been saved. We didn't. So I think you need to also just utilize like anything that you can in your Malomo flows and on your tracking pages to alert customers before they reach out to you, right? Even if it's bad news, like I'd rather you get that bad news from us than you come and send a ticket that my team then has to individually read and respond to and react, right? So it's a lot about it's proactiveness, but it's proactive more like of a critical care plan to ensure that your team doesn't walk into a 4,000, 5,000 ticket day. That has certainly happened to us before. So,
yeah, it's almost like preventative care. Like,
yes, exactly. It's maintenance.
It's maintenance.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's fantastic. So I just noticed the time that it went really quick. I want to make sure that we open it up to some Q&A. Because I saw a lot of questions flying by. So I'm gonna pass it to Mariah as she's collecting some of the questions there.
Yes, we have a lot to get through, so we're gonna try and rapid fire through them. So the first question is from Zach. Does your brand increase social media and ad spend during October to drive new visitor traffic? So for this Q&A, anyone who wants to pop in, answer that question, that'd be perfect. And then we'll go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Max.
Yeah. And for chocolate, October is a very big month for us. But we also view that as a way to get customers at a slightly cheaper acquisition cost than we're going to get them in November, December. So yeah, we really kind of ramp up our marketing spend in October, trying to capture Halloween customers, knowing that after that, we can get them on Black Friday, we can get them at Christmas, Valentine's Day, and then if we hit them on all those power windows, you're pretty much golden through the summer, and you have a full customer.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, like October's our bread and butter season to acquire new customers, and we do that through a bunch of different ad spins, right? Either it's through Google, or we've been working really closely with a team from Meta to really focus our customer segments and obviously try to tap into their knowledge as opposed to us just kind of trying to guess what's going on. Which I know seems to be the case a lot of times when you're dealing with social media ads. But yeah, we definitely increase our ad spend. We've drawn it down quite a bit this year, and we will try to get behind some of the viralness of a couple of our products, right? So we'll definitely have to do that through social media.
We actually significantly decrease spending this time of year because our business is heavily focused on wedding. After October, we just kind of fall off until, engagement season is over and wedding season picks back up next spring. So it's not smart for us to spend the higher prices during the holidays to acquire customers. So we really pull back and then ramp things back up in January.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Next question is from Brooke. How do you approach audience segmentation for standard audiences who buy for themselves versus BFCM audiences who buy for others?
That's a great question, Brooke. I think it's really tough sometimes, right? I mean, you can look at customer segments. I mean, here's an example for what we're trying to do, like on our post-purchase flows, right? And again, this is just a small example of something that's, I think, just about everybody who uses Malomo and has a sophisticated system set up, is that like we change that post-purchase flows for different customers, right? If you're a new customer, this is what you're going to see. If you're a receiving customer, here's what you're going to receive. From buying for others too, like again, we are tapping into those segments, right, and directing them to different spots, like on our website. Like if you are a 7X buyer, right? You've got, $1,000 worth of our product. Like we're going to kind of send you towards, maybe some of our larger, more expensive, newer items. If you're new, we might send you to like that gift guide, right? And just kind of looking at your periods of how long and how often you're buying and what you're buying. That really helps us. So we have a very strange break. We have people who are incredibly loyal, and then there's this middle tier, and then it's a lot of new customers. So we're really focused on that first time buyer, whether it's a gift or not. So I leave that up to the growth and analytics team to kind of really go after that. From the CX side, like we approach it with gorgeous. If you are a 1X buyer, you get priority over somebody who's purchased maybe 5 times, right? Because we want to make sure that their issues are resolved, expeditiously, so they can continue to use the product and have a good experience with our brand.
Love it. Max and Katie, is there anything you would add on to what Colin said?
Yeah, I think we take a pretty similar approach there. I know for us, we've really tried to dig deep into segmenting out orders based off of if they're a gift or not. If someone orders a gift box or a gift subscription, it's easy to tell. But when they're ordering other products, it can be a little more challenging to figure out, are they ordering this for themselves or ordering it for someone else? So we leverage that with our tracking pages and try and get them to share that tracking information with the gift receiver. We also just introduced a new feature on the site where you can gift a subscription, enter that receiver's contact info so that we can then send them tracking details and information on their order, and leverage those transactional emails to be able to essentially market them, try and get them to subscribe to our own marketing list. And then once their gift subscription is over, or we believe they might be out of that product, reapproach them and get them to sign up for their own personal subscription.
We don't do anything around, gifting customers. I will say we just, actively when we're reaching out to our own audience, we just engage them with gift card messaging that we don't usually send any other time unless it's a holiday.
Love it. I know we have more questions to get to, but we're going to switch out our panelists and wrap up this first session. We might get to the other questions in the next session. So yeah, if you want to wrap us all up, that'd be great.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining. Katie, Colin, Max, appreciate your insights around this. Obviously, we touched on a lot of like really important subjects and got a lot of questions that funneled in. Two things, if folks wanted to maybe touch base with you and ask some questions, best place to reach you, maybe drop it into chat. That'd be great. And then also these three were super gracious enough to provide some goodies. So they each provided some discount codes for everybody here to use to get some gifts for yourself. And Mariah will drop the codes for each one into chat. So please support these brands and thank them for the time. So thank you all for spending some time with us. We're gonna take maybe a quick pause and then we'll get the next panel started. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck this year.
yes, everybody go crush it.
I'm excited. Welcome everybody to session 2, what we are calling retention on the brain, I guess, to stick with the theme of back to school. And I know people are still filtering in and out. So while I do my little spiel here, let's have you all drop your favorite thing you did this summer in the chat. Everyone always does the where are you from thing. I think Yao did it. It's great. But we already heard from a lot of you. So let's go favorite thing you did this summer. For me, I did a lot of awesome stuff. I went to Lake of the Ozarks, which was really cool. That was the second time. What did I do that was unique? That might be my favorite memory. That was really, really fun. Highly recommend. And everything that we did was legal for the most part too. So that was also good. As you're dropping those in, super quick reminder, we'll be giving away a $100 gift card to the most engaged attendee. So be sure to share your thoughts and ask questions in the chat. The winner will be announced at the end of the session. And you must still be present to collect the gift card. So hang tight with us. We'll have a great second session here. Now that the fine print is out of the way, I will be your moderator. We've got an incredible panel. For those who don't know me, I'm Noah Rahimzadeh, and I head up partnerships here at Malomo. And before we get to the conversation, I would love to just do a super quick intro from the rest of the panel. So I'm super lucky to be joined by two of our most strategic partners, people I work with at least weekly, if not daily. Ryan and Vaishali from Loop and Whiplash, and one of our favorite merchants as well, Brumate. So let's have Ryan kick us off. Tell us a little about yourself, your organization, and we can't let you off the hook. Favorite thing you did this summer?
Yeah, so Ryan Powell, I work over at Ryder Ecommerce by Whiplash. We are a tech-forward 3PL. I'm responsible for marketing and partnerships here at Ryder. Best thing I did was go to a cabin without Wi-Fi or cell service for 10 days. It was fantastic.
That is a great one. I want to change mine now. I did an Idlewild trip in California, some hiking. That was a little more unique than Ozarks, and it was very cool getting away like that. Vaishali, how about you?
That's fun. I went to band camp in Idlewild growing up. But yeah, I'm Vaishali. I am a product marketing manager at Loop, and I'm lucky enough to work on our tracking integrations, among many other things. And if you don't know Loop, we are a returns platform focused on exchanges and retained revenue. And I went to Mexico for a week this summer, and that was really fun. Yeah, Mexico City's great food. Good time.
Mexico City for the whole week?
Yes, I took a class there, so awesome. Couldn't really go anywhere else.
Very cool. Have not been, it's on the list. Colin, we'll round out with you.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. If you're new or didn't join in the first session, Colin Waters. I am the Associate Director of CX for Brumate. I am probably more of a retention-minded CX person than just tell them the bad news and kind of deal with it. So I manage our team in a way that, like, we protect it. I consider ourselves like the insurance policy for Brumate, right? We're there to protect everybody's hard work. And retaining revenue and retaining customers is a big part of what I think about. And favorite thing that I did this summer was we had a baby. So I didn't do anything difficult, but I got to enjoy the good parts of that. So yeah, so far so good there.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
You have to say that too. Even if you did something else that was epic, you gotta say having the baby.
Yeah. I've done so much, right? I deserve all the credit, right? Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Appreciate you guys and the awesome intros. So since we're in session 2 and everyone obviously has retention on the brain, let's talk about that. Brands are going to spend more money to acquire customers this year than ever before in history. And to us, it's obviously imperative that they keep those newly acquired customers after the holiday, or they risk never making their money back on the CAC. So let's start with a broad question to Colin, since he's on the brand side. Can you describe to us how you're thinking about retention as we head into the holiday season? I know you're fresh off the acquisition side.
Yeah.
I want to get your mind on retention here.
So I mentioned it, like October is always our biggest season to get customers and they have the highest kind of like repeat rate, right? So we're able to kind of pull them in. I think the biggest thing that we do though is like we have a Facebook VIP group that if you are a new customer or you were starting to fall into the brand, like we start to promote that because like it's this weird little groupies page. I mean, not little, like 50,000 people, right? And they just drum up this like really hype for products that like maybe wouldn't have that necessarily. So like we lean into that group to kind of help promote our kind of jump start into that, right? And like I was mentioning earlier, like, we will do certain things that will bring that customer back, right? A new color, a new wave, a new product, like a new collab with an influencer, things like that too. And this year specifically, we started to kind of look at other ways to retain customers that don't necessarily come with an ad spend, right? Our CAC is really high. We traditionally have looked at really acquiring the first time customer, and we really haven't put too much into that second, third, and fourth purchase, right? We've really kind of let that be native. So we've adjusted a little bit of our spend to kind of pull those customers back in. And then we've got to, once we get them back, we're going to spend more money on them. Then we need to potentially find ways to kind of reward them to stay. So we've looked at entirely refreshing like our rewards program. Like the more you spend, if you spend during this time, you'll get X amount of points, 2X. So we've really had to rethink that kind of that additional retention point. From the CX side, like it's really important that if there is an issue that we're handling it right away. So if like I said, if it's a new customer, like we are more likely to help that customer with potential like, resolution of like a warranty or something like that to kind of retain that and make sure that we haven't really, blown the $40 or whatever it's cost so far to acquire that customer to bring them in. Like we've got to be there. Like, and yes, it does cost us $10 to send you a replacement part, but like to me, that's not the cost of a replacement. It's the cost of keeping the customer in retention. So I think of CX costs mostly as a retention cost than anything else, right? And so that's kind of how we approach it. Like we don't let that be a barrier. We just make sure that even if we have to send an entirely new product, like we kind of we send that as a retention cost, not as a replacement cost, if you will.
Got it. Do you have like a specific time window where you feel from the data that you need to drive a second purchase by in order to keep a customer as a repeat customer? Or do you think about that at all? Like, or even maybe on the community side, the Facebook group, right? Like how much more likely are those folks to buy again than somebody who doesn't join the community? And then I want to go to Ryan on how he thinks, you might be able to promote those things from a packaging perspective.
Yeah, it's about 100 days for us, right? We need that person to come back. We are very focused on that post-purchase like experience, right? You buy one item and you're going to receive like 3 emails that are like, hey, how this is how you use it. How are you liking it? Okay, would you want to give us a review? Now we're going to incentivize that review with a 15% discount to kind of get you back into that, right? So we're certainly trying to make that manageable and keep them coming back. So if we miss out on that first 100 days, we will then, we've got customer segments built out for special promos and things like that, but we really try in that first 100 days to get them to return that second purchase. And we will try to put them, hopefully, into a product that maybe was a little bit out of their reach now because it was in a promo, because it was a new launch. It's outside of that. Discounts apply. So we're always trying to kind of give some space in that 100 days. I love seeing customers who purchase multiple times on the same day, or they bought it and they're like, I love this. I'm getting 3 more. Another part of our retention plan too really is in returns, that we want to invest that money back into the company. And we've done a really good job doing that with Returnly. Sorry, Loop. But obviously many of you probably know Returnly is going away. So we're having to revisit our strategy on that. And, that's going to be a challenge in 2023, 24, right? Is making sure that we're retaining that dollars, and do we incentivize that, right? Come on, like keep it with us, right? I know a lot of customers want that experience too. So we've also tried to make that a little bit easier for them to navigate from that perspective as well. Whatever we can do to make it easier for them.
When you say that, Colin, and then obviously would love Vaishali to chime in on this as well. Is it mostly about turning returns into exchanges, or you mentioned specifically reinvesting the money back into the org? Like, can you talk a little bit more tactically about how you're doing that?
Yeah. So what we have found, in our previous experiences, and it's changed obviously throughout, my time at Brumate, is that not only were people investing that return price cost, they were then increasing their spend by an average of like $17 or something like that. So like our AOV was then like higher than what we were expecting. We've had to kind of, and again, every program, Loop, Returnly, Happy Returns, Narvar, whatever they are using, right? Like we found that we were actually hurting ourselves by having an exchange experience because we were limited with what we were doing. So sometimes, like, yes, it's a great shiny tool, but we're causing retention of revenue to be the same, but less spend. So we kind of redid what worked for us. And we were the top one in our vertical for a while. I don't know if we were there now, but like, it was like an average of like a 30% uplift on new purchases, which was great. So people were buying something and realizing that they love the product, but the ones that they were returning were the wrong size. So then they buy 2 more and they start that gifting process, and it kind of branches out from there. So we just try to make that as easy as possible for them. And again, incentivize them to keep that, purchase with us and those funds.
Vaishali, I'd love to get your perspective on that. What do you see from your end? Whether it relates specifically to, the Brumate vertical or just across the board with your
Definitely. It's so interesting to hear you talk about that, Colin, from the brand perspective. We really believe in making it easy to exchange for the right product. So your point, it's the wrong size, or it might not be a product that they realize in person they don't like as much. Maybe it's the wrong color. Maybe they saw something on the website that they like more. It's essential to be able to exchange for anything in the catalog, and also to be able to, in the returns process, capture that upsell revenue and turn your returns and exchanges experience back into a shopping experience. Our goal is always to make it feel like you're just continuing your shopping journey, and to not even give you the idea that you should be considering a refund. At least incentivize for store credit to ensure that they keep their money with you, and that when they find something they love, that they then become a loyal customer and are willing to shop and buy again. Because if they're unhappy the first time around, it's so hard to reacquire them, and it feels completely lost. So that's definitely something we think about.
I think too, just to add to that, like from the Brumate side, the brand side for us is like when people are on our returns page, like we have a live chat campaign that, why would you have that on there? It's just basically, we want to be there to usher you through a shopping experience. I didn't like this. Oh, actually, you know what? That's damaged. There's a lot of touch points at returns that I think can help save retention from a customer standpoint as well, right? And also too, then you're their designated shopper. Oh, you got the wrong one. Here's the link, bam, that person shopped and they're on their way without the headache of like, well, what do I really need? Let me send an email. So I think it is really important to have that exchange, dialed in really, really well.
That's an incredible experience. Like I always think about, e-commerce brands striving for how do we make this experience as much like a real life or in person, I should say, shopping experience as possible. And I think Colin, you just described sort of a core tenet of that. Ryan, want to go to you. Since we're kind of on this kick of, driving repeat purchases, driving customers back to buy again and recouping that customer acquisition costs or ensuring that you at least break even. What should brands be thinking about from a fulfillment perspective that they can do to drive customers back for more?
Well, I think it's working with either your facility or the 3PL you're contracted with to ensure that the forecasts are accurate. At Ryder, we started our peak forecasting a while back. Just need to get ahead of it. I think a lot when I see in the space, there's a lot of issues with inventory and run a sale, and the 3PL says, oh, there's no inventory left, and they do it late, or the Shopify rate limits are hit or what have you. And so making sure that you're really ahead of what you're expecting, what you're driving, if you are doing retention activities, what your expectations are around that, ensuring the communication is flowing back to the operational side of the business. What I see is a lot of companies, put a Malomo and Loop live, and we're seeing a ton more orders come through, and we weren't engaged from an operational perspective that we have this amazing new tool that's going to help drive additional sales, and so we need to make sure that those type of communications are active and continuous when you're thinking about working on the back end.
Yeah, 100%. In prepping for this webinar, I saw this Klaviyo report that said, I think it was 2022, so last year, but UPS exceeded capacity by 5 million packages per day. Mm-hmm. So if you're a brand shipping with UPS, like 1 in 5 of your packages was late. And I imagine that you see like massive retention issues and major hits to LTV as a result of that. Ryan, anything to add there, or any data that you've seen around that?
Well, I think the returns space is a very interesting one. I think the focus on trying to convert and retain is important as a processor of returns, if you will. It's not easy, right, to go through and make sure that you're understanding exactly what's going on with this return. And so, I think there's going to be some interesting opportunities in this space when I think about e-commerce and omni-channel brands as we look to the future, because there is just a great opportunity there. And I think, companies like Loop do a great job of really pushing for retention and exchanges. And then, the communication side of it's imperative. That's where Malomo kind of steps in, which has really helped a lot of the brands that we partner with.
Yeah. I'm curious what that's been like for you, Colin, just in terms of the uptick in orders and fulfillment and shipping. Like, how have you handled that? Is that a world that you've touched or been had visibility into? Any insights you can share there?
It's like I probably lose sleep at night over fulfillment and logistics, and I probably do a lot of things very difficult in terms of keeping spreadsheets and data, but it's very, very important, right? I mean, I think you over communicate with the customers to let them know that there are delays. Again, they are outside of their control. 99% of packages are showing up on time, but it's that 1% that is going to be very vocal. And most of the time, and I don't know if this is everybody's experience, is that yes, we see pockets of this, right? We know your package is probably okay. We don't know that for a fact, but it's better than us sending the second package and then you receiving 2 things. Now, if you have a parcel protection kind of piece of your equation there, okay, great, you can lean into that. But really, you don't want to just start shipping stuff because of a small delay. And I think it's really first setting the expectations for the customers, right? Giving them a longer window. You're balancing 8 to 10 days is probably realistic, but we're going to say 10 to 12 just in case, right? But was a customer going to buy at 10 to 12? I need it a little bit faster. I am I mentioned it earlier. In 2020, we saw a huge increase in just exposure for for Brumate. It was insane. We went kind of overnight to being one of those like internet sensations, right? Everybody was buying, everybody was drinking at home. We had about 50,000 orders that just vanished in transit.
Wow.
And it was very difficult for us to manage because we didn't have a tool like Malomo and Klaviyo set up that like these people were reaching out to us, and we were essentially sending them just a blanket statement, but they are looking for answers, right? So if you can give them that answer ahead of time by using, in transit, no delivery after 7 days, after 10 days, after 12, putting in a component that is not your team to handle like claims, you should do that. And it should like start yesterday, like get that done, get that dialed in, do dry runs. If you don't do it now, it's going to be too late. And then again, it's got to be this proactiveness kind of fire drill, right?
Yeah.
You don't have an answer for them, but that doesn't matter. You're just trying to keep them from coming to your inbox.
That's a great way to think about it. Proactive versus reactive. If you're on the reactive side of that problem, Colin, I'm sure it's much, much more challenging than if you have a system in place to solve for it proactively.
It kind of comes down to this too, just really quickly. Like I use this phrase a lot. It's like a violently executed plan is better than a perfect plan too late. So just get it done, put it in place, and then adjust on the fly as you need. Like don't wait. I know your CEO and your marketing team's going to want to put a spin on it, and like we really, no, it just needs to get done. Like, and you've got to push hard for that from the brand standpoint. If you want to retain your customers. I don't know if we've ever, really revive those customers because of that experience, right? We're talking packages 9-10 weeks late, things like that.
Yeah Great point.
Get yourself logistics, like transportation needs to be buttoned up too, so get with them.
Yes. Vaishali, on that note, proactive versus reactive. I'm sure that when I think about holiday shopping, I think like I'm gonna go buy a bunch of stuff because it's on sale and see what sticks, right? See what works for me, what doesn't, and I'm gonna return a bunch of stuff as a result. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. How should brands think about getting ahead of that, knowing that it's likely to happen from a returns and exchanges perspective?
Definitely. I think first setting yourself up for success by automating your returns, if you haven't done that already, it can become such a headache, especially when you're a new brand and maybe this is your first time going through peak season. A lot of brands say that they experience all of their 90% of their annual returns during holiday season. So they may not really see returns. And then especially with gift returns, you're seeing a huge uptick. So I think proactive ways that you can prevent returns is through accurate product descriptions and product imagery. And you can use return reasons from past items. So for example, if you know that a certain pair of jeans is always getting returned and you can go and see that the return seasons are due to size, you can measure your products and redo the product chart or the fit chart just for those pair of jeans. Or if you're told that the color doesn't look the same online as it does in person, and that's the reason for the return, take a few new photos. And I really like what Colin is saying about moving quickly. And if you can't get the whole team on board, just iterating and doing this almost as a band-aid so that you can prevent returns, because hey, we're in the market of returns, but the reality is they suck. And if we can reduce them from the get-go, that's a win for everyone around. I think in terms of being reactive, making sure that you have a really clear return policy, extend your return window so people feel like they have time to try out products and know if it's the right fit for them. Make sure that they're extended for post-holiday season when they actually get back to their computer and they're able to complete those returns. And then make sure you can actually accept gift returns. Looking at gift returns as a new market. These are customers who maybe would have never shopped with you before. Don't assume because they want to return it that they can't become loyal customers through the process. And that really goes back to ensuring that they can exchange a gift or they can at least get store credit and incentivizing them in that direction. So those are the two angles that I think about.
Yeah, I think really good tactical stuff there. And I think about this quote from, I forget where I heard this. It's probably another webinar, but the guy talked about how like people who have a poor brand experience, but they're made right by the brand, and I think a lot of times that's what a return can feel like, are much more likely to return to the brand than even if you have a good experience the first time. So like you have a poor experience, but the brand goes above and beyond to make up for it, or makes it a really seamless process to make it right. That customer is much more likely to come back to that brand than if you just had a good experience from the get-go. So not to put any ideas in brands' heads, but something to consider there overall. I'm curious now, let's talk a little bit about like what I would consider retention channels. So email and SMS are obviously talked about probably first and foremost when retention's thought of. Then you have things like loyalty and subscription programs. But what's like a key retention strategy that's regularly forgotten? I think Colin with the Facebook group, I would probably liken that to community. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, what's something from your end that you think brands regularly neglect or don't think enough about?
I think it's like that individualization, like that personal touch, right? Like again, like we talked about like blanket statements, but for me, I think Max was talking about this, is like I want to feel like I'm interacting with a real brand. And so I've done things in the past too. It's putting in notes, right? And this is so simple, right? If you've had a difficult customer, right, or you've had a great customer and you notice that their order is just kind of in the queue, something like that, drop a note in there. For us, it's really simple. It's just like, hey, thanks for your continued patience. Like, we're sorry this order is a little bit later. Like, sign it with your actual name. It gets printed, put into the box. Like, I know it's an easy touch, but like just feeling like you care. So like if you're reaching out through these channels, like do as much as you can to segment their history, their order history, right? I think a big part of that too is like reviews is probably a major place for us, is because like that customer leaves an honest review, and like right now we have it set up that every review under 3 stars or has a negative sentiment is actually creating a ticket for our team to handle, right? And we might not be able to solve their issue. They might just not like the color. It could have been too large, right? But we're saying, hey, we totally get it. Like, if you ever need anything, we've got you. Come to us. We will help you find that issue. We're so grateful that you left us a review. But if they do really have an issue, like, we solve it for them. So I think reviews is a great place. It's where customers are probably the most honest, sometimes terribly honest. But you get an opportunity, like you were mentioning, to right a wrong. And make that customer happy. Like, maybe they won't repurchase with you, but they might at least give you a pass and not go out there and do what they swear they're going to do on social media and tell all their friends and tell them how bad you guys are. So I really love getting into the reviews and seeing what we can kind of do to help from there.
Yeah, reviews is a great call out. What platform do you guys use for that?
We use Okendo, which is really nice because they're starting to build some other things too that are like loyalty, right? They have retention, they have referrals. So like they're starting to build things that we can just kind of spin up and fold into what we already have, as opposed to having to fold in another part of, here's another piece of your tech stack. Well, you've got 15 of them. Where do I send this ad again? Like, oh, it just goes out of one. Malomo's been really great for us, right? And just to kind of shout you guys out, is that like you guys have helped us eliminate problem orders. Like, we see these coming in before the customer even knows, so we can take action on that, right? And again, it's a personal touch, right? Maybe I can't do anything, but just FYI, it was damaged. We have already got another one in transit. God, I didn't even know it was damaged. So leaning into that kind of those things, that just really helps with it's the little things, right? It all adds up.
Goes back to the proactive side, right?
Right. Yep.
I'm happy you mentioned the handwritten note too, because I wanted to go to Ryan next and ask about unique things that brands can think about doing with packaging specifically, that you've seen work well from the 3PL perspective.
Yeah, I think, the packaging experience is important. I've seen, it's really dependent on the community that the brand has. So we have customers with communities where the AOV is like, $2,000. Their unboxing experience is quite extensive. The packing, takes like 17 minutes to pack an order, just due to the unboxing experience. And then, we have a good number of brands that are really focused on sustainability, which is an interesting spot. And we're seeing organizations utilize things like the Books box, which is a reusable engagement tool where you can actually engage with the consumer and draw them back to the site by returning a box that's reusable. So we're seeing a lot of interesting success with products like that. And then there's a big push, obviously, to steer away from the plastic polys. It's a very common thing, especially in fashion. Everything shoves in a poly bag. And so we're working with a lot of our brands to look at more sustainable options. And so I think from our side, when you look at the experience, it's not only what the consumer experiences, but also the products that you're using, right? Is it reusable? Is it biodegradable? Can it be leveraged for something else? And then how can it drive that packaging, actually potentially drive people back to your site by doing an action like a return of the packaging or something like that?
That's why I went to you. Would have never thought of that. Great example.
We do a lot with packaging.
Go ahead. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think probably every day you're doing a little packaging over there. Vaishali, anything to add here? I know might be a tougher question from a returns perspective, but I also know that you're super glued into the overall e-com world. So any ideas for different or unique channels to leverage for retention that aren't often thought of?
I don't know if this falls into email SMS, but I do think a positive tracking experience goes a long way. I think like being able to have those custom recommendations and make it more of like a landing page experience like you do with Malomo. And also having one place as a source of truth, like being able to find your returns on your tracking page, or with Loop, you can send the status of a return and an exchange as well. So you're reducing the number of ticket inquiries when you're able to look at your email and say, oh, okay, like my refund just got, like my item just got to the warehouse, so my refund should process in 3 to 5 days. Like the more information, the better. I don't think there's such a thing as like an over-informed customer in the long run.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the particular use case of especially returns and exchanges, because like I said, for a lot of consumers buying a ton of stuff, knowing you're going to return a bunch and then having to keep track of all of that manually is a nightmare. And until really like this year in our integration, it was pretty challenging to do so not manually. Like everything was pretty much you had to track everything down on your own. You had no idea when your refunds were going to hit or your exchange product was going to arrive. So you could try that one. And I do think that goes a long way, because we say it all the time, but 84% of consumers won't return to a brand after just one bad shipping experience. Most consumers are going to have more than one bad shipping experience in this time period, right? In this holiday period. But how can we proactively get ahead of those and make sure that we're properly communicating when issues do arise, because they're kind of inevitable, right?
Yeah, I think communication, we've got customer advisory boards, and the number one thing, like they don't care about shipping costs. They don't care about the time in transit. Number one feedback from consumers is proactive communication. More important than anything, more important than exchanges, more important than, the checkout experience. It's really proactive communication. Once that occurs, I feel special as a consumer. I feel looked after. I feel that I'm actually part of the brand and the community. So I think that's a big takeaway, which is why I'm a big fan of what Malomo is doing. It's important.
Colin, anything that you would add from the brand perspective on what Ryan and Vaishali just?
Yeah, it's you've got to be almost transparent to a fault, right? Like people expect that their package has a beacon in it and that they can follow it exactly where it's at, right? It's got an air tag in it. It's like, no, that's not actually how that is happening, right? Like this is at the post office lost with a million other packages. Like I can't go in and pull that out, right? So I think the more communication you can get, and like we've had this discussion too, like is it real time or should there be like this delay? And we have a 20-minute delay built into our delivery window. Because we have some carriers who will scan it earlier. I'm thinking like you're living in a giant apartment complex. They scan it at one place and then they actually have to go and deliver it, right? So you might open your door and it's not there. You then immediately email us and you're like, can you check your door again? Oh, it's right there. So we have this 20-minute window, but like, man, you're always going to have a customer who is going to break that mold and be very vocal about it or subset. But it really just depends on your customer base, like your customer segment, like how fast are they interacting? I think the big thing from a communication standpoint right now is you really need to be pushing your carriers and who you work with, transportation, like get photo evidence of deliveries. Like it makes a big difference in our world with a couple of our carriers where we can say that definitely is your house. And they're like, oh, you know what? I found it. And we're like, we knew you're trying to slide by us here. So I think just as much communication, as much visibility for the customer that they expect to have. They just don't know how logistics and transportation work. So you have to kind of, explain that to them. It's a lot. It's education, really, right? We have a macro for our UPS mail innovations. It goes in this weird 5-day pool where there's no movement. UPS, USPS, they don't have the package. It's somewhere. It always comes out. But like we tell people, like this is exactly what is happening. The post office is not going to tell you that, and neither is UPS. But we're telling you that because we want you to know we're not just blowing smoke up,
Yeah.
But promise it will arrive, and just trust us, right? And I think customers do that because we tell them the truth,
right?
As opposed to like, oh, it's in transit. Yeah, no duh. So
yeah. Yes. Again, I think the theme of this is proactiveness. Okay. 5 minutes left. We got to get to questions. So let's go down the line, starting with Vaishali. One thing that you want the listeners to take away when it comes to retention for Black Friday, Cyber Monday shoppers.
I would say incentivize exchanges and store credit. Give them all the reasons to say yes to coming back.
Perfect. Ryan, that's hard to follow.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I honestly, I think, just stay on top of communication, leverage tools like the Klaviyo's of the world, Malomo, they're essential when we see, the brands that we partnered with and their success. So I'd say just really lean into that proactive communication. It's essential, especially during peak.
Colin, one thing.
Man, give them something that they're dying for. We have a couple of colorways that, have been gone for a while, and we might just bring them back for holiday, right? So we've built up this pent up demand. So listen to your customers, what they want, and just kind of lean into that like demand, right? Maybe it doesn't make sense, from like, oh, well, that's a lot of work, but like demand drives them there. It keeps them happy. And so listen to your customers pretty big time on that, what they want.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you all so much. Let's bring Mariah back. I think she's going to lead a little Q&A here for the last 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I believe this first one is for you, Colin. With the 100 days that you were talking about at the beginning of this session, do you have an ideal cadence for those contacts to keep them engaged but not overwhelmed and push them away? Does it change based on AOV?
It doesn't change based on AOV. It really is more dependent on what they've purchased, right? And trying to give them that ideas. Like I think that first one is triggered 4 or 5 days after they've made the purchase, right? And that's basically like, hey, this is how you use it. Here are some of the tips. Here are some similar items, right? Like we're not introducing anything, brand spanking new. Then that second one is like, hey, we're just checking in. Like, are you really enjoying it? Is there things that we can help you with? And then that third one is like, let's have you leave a review. And that typically, that cadence is probably spread out over about 3 weeks or so. And then we've got some other segments in there too, like, hey, here's another 10% off your next order. That usually falls in within that 100 days, but we'll hit that 10% probably in the first 45 days or so. It'd be nice to grab those customers, those first-time customers, but I think, you really have to understand your customers, but also like your products. Like, are people going to buy, like, are there multiple reasons? Like for us, I have 3 different Brumates staring at me right now. They all do different things, right? So do you have products that can do that? If you have, I'm trying to think, cell phone cases, something like that, something that's like, you don't need 7, 8 of those, because it's the same thing. So you need to know your product and like when people are going to be making that second purchase again. So it's anywhere from probably that first 45 days, we're really hitting them hard. And then of course, obviously there's a bunch of social media marketing that we've grabbed them into and keeping in front of them for that period as well.
Awesome. Love it. Next question is from Chelsea. Can you explain how your forecasting methods integrate with specific D2C Shopify businesses' needs to anticipate volume fluctuations and maintain a consistent and efficient supply chain, especially during peak season or market fluctuations? Is there any use of AI to look at?
Gosh, it has been one of our biggest challenges in the 3 years is just kind of staying with demand and like planning and things like that. This year specifically, like I mentioned, we have a few products that we know are just ready to like go big, right? And so we are leaning heavy into that stuff. We're getting it here early, like it should all be here before October 1st. And then from there, if it goes, the way of the dodo and it's gone, then we have found that a lot of customers will swing to either a different color or a very similar product, maybe a different size or something like that. So we're not in AI yet for that. I'd say it's our biggest challenge, but forecasting, we have really just dialed into those other ones and our core products, and then everything else we've kind of just pulled back a little bit. If we sell out, we sell out, but we're really going for our home run hitters this year.
Love it. I know, Yao, you answered, or you asked one in the chat, you asked a question and then Ryan got to it. For the sake of time, no, I think we can wrap up and share our giveaway winner.
Cool. Do you want to do that? Do you know who it is?
Yes. Yeah, I know who it is. Yes. So Brooke Kidner, congrats. You are our giveaway winner. Thank you for all the engagement. And thank you for showing up, and super happy to have all of our attendees here, and a very special thank you to all of our panelists. This was super educational.
Yes. Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
Thanks so much, everyone. Good luck out there.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.